Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on a Tuesday? Another Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. It was a great football weekend, and Monday Night Football, unbelievable what happened there. I see that's our first topic, and can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. It's kind of crazy how, the Jets continue their streak of bad quarterback luck, unfortunately. But let's jump into we're not even going to jump into it. We're going to dive right into it with our first topic of today's show. So, Jets undrafted rookie wide receiver Xavier Gibson scores a 65-yard game-winning punt return touchdown. However, the Jets have indeed lost future first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback Aaron Rodgers with a fully torn Achilles, which is pretty huge. Zach Wilson will be the quarterback one. However, there was a report out today saying that the Jets are looking at veteran quarterbacks to potentially be a backup or maybe could be a potential QB1 in the future. However, Robert Saleh still believes in Zach Wilson to be their future quarterback. So I want to know reaction to Rodgers' injury and talking about the game. Did the Bills lose this game or did the Jets pull out with a solid win?
I still can't believe that Aaron Rodgers is out for the season. That's hard to believe, right? He only played 4 snaps the whole year. They went out, all of the hoopla around trading for him and what you have to give up and deal and everything, and his contract restructured, and they gave up a lot for him to get him here, and the salary was in the around $50 million, right? I mean, what did he get? $75 million for 2 years, something like that. He restructured his deal even less. He restructured it to be smaller.
Right.
So so that they could stay under a cap and bring in some other players, whatever. He came off as a really team oriented guy. He was changing his image a bit by trying to fit in and also be supportive of the young receivers and the other players, and it was good. I was happy to see that, and he was highly regarded in New York. We went to a Knicks game. He was there, and people went wild when they announced him, right? So he was fired up for it and everything, and now he's done for the season. It's hard to believe. I can't believe that happened, right?
Yeah, no.
And now the Jets situation, right? They hung on to Zach Wilson. Nobody could say enough bad things about him last year, right? And he was the reason that the Jets didn't make it to the playoffs and go deep into the playoffs. They had all the other pieces except the quarterback. Well, now he's your quarterback again, right? And maybe someday he is going to be a world beater. I don't know. He has a strong arm. Sometimes he makes some decent plays. He's quick. He can scramble. I think he has talent. But his decision makings, even last night, he threw an interception, threw the ball right to the guy. So I think that was brought back memories of last year for everybody, for sure. But you got to be careful about who you go out and get for a backup quarterback, right? Because if Zach Wilson is a future quarterback, you don't want to undermine him. You don't want to hurt his psyche by bringing someone in that looking over his shoulder, breathing down his neck, who some people might think is a better quarterback than him. Certainly Tom Brady would be in that category, right? But I don't think Tom Brady is coming out of retirement to play for the Jets this year, particularly after they honored him at Foxborough Stadium on Sunday, and he ran around the field with a number 12 on, his jersey on, and said, "I'm a Patriot for life." It'd be hard to the next week say, "Oh, now I'm playing for the Jets, and I'll be playing against you in a couple of weeks, twice a year." I don't see that happening, but stranger things have happened. I don't know. You never can say never, but I don't think that's possible. I guess of the other opportunities to bring in other quarterbacks, Chase Daniel, I don't know. I'd say his days are over. He's 36 years old. He never did much in the NFL. Joe Flacco, they had him. They saw what he could do. I think they probably don't want to go back to him. Nick Foles, that's a possibility, I think. He's not too big a name. He wouldn't overshadow Zach Wilson. Colt McCoy, he's I guess you could say he's a possibility. He's not going to take you to the playoffs, that's for sure, if Zach Wilson gets hurt. Matt Ryan, he had a horrible year last year for the Colts.
That's true.
I guess maybe he's a possibility. Does he still want to play? Probably. I don't know.
He said he's not retired.
He's not retired.
Said that, he's still hoping to play again.
Yeah. Trevor Siemian. I mean, he's a game manager. He's not somebody that's going to take you to the playoffs.
There's one big name on here.
Carson Wentz. Carson
yeah.
Wentz is the one that I think who's had some success, who's been up and down, mostly down the last few years. Nobody even wants him right now. I would say probably he's the one to pick.
I would definitely say that out of all the free agent options, because I don't think the Jets really want to trade for a backup quarterback. And the first name that comes to mind, really, when you think about trading for actually there are two names that come to mind when I think about trading for a backup quarterback. One that's a huge question mark, and another one that sort of maybe has a reputation. It definitely has proven something. The big question mark, which I don't think will get moved, but could be an interesting, piece maybe, is Trey Lance. He might get moved again. And the guy who's sort of established himself, who's currently a backup, is Jameis Winston. You could add him to the stockpile.
That makes a lot of sense.
Of a couple receivers. Garrett Wilson. I want to talk about the game. I mean, it's really unfortunate. I'll talk about the game in a second, but the string of bad luck that the Jets have had at the quarterback position, no matter who it is. It was Brett Favre, it was Vinny Testaverde, Chad Pennington was dealing with injuries, Mark Sanchez dealt with an injury. I mean, just the slew of injuries that the Jets have had at the quarterback spot. I mean, it's kind of, it's unfortunate that you could probably guess that no matter who the quarterback is, if it's a veteran quarterback, yeah, he'll probably get hurt when he plays for the Jets, because that just seems like it's a common theme when it comes to New York football. Now, is it MetLife Stadium itself with their brand new turf? A lot of players think so, that MetLife Stadium, like the conditions in the stadium are terrible, which, that's a fair point.
I don't think that's the reason Aaron Rodgers got hurt, though. I don't think the turf had anything to do with him getting hurt. It showed his foot. It was just an odd way that his foot stretched.
You could actually see
You could see his feet bend.
Yeah, it was a weird situation, but there's really just bad luck when it comes to the Jets, and they can never get it's either they don't get the right quarterback, or when they get a quarterback, he doesn't really play that much.
I mean, the same thing happened to Vinny Testaverde.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, it was like to the day, like today on the day, I think.
Was it?
It might
it's
have
unbelievable.
Been. No, it's incredibly unfortunate what happens with Jets quarterbacks. But let's talk about the game now. So when it comes to this game, I'm going to say Zach Wilson was impressive. He wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Hell, he had, I would say this is more of a Garrett Wilson play, but Zach Wilson was the quarterback and was driving, and this was probably arguably the best catch of the game and could be best catch of the year going into probably the rest of the year. Because just of how good this catch was, to reach over Tre'Davious White and grab the ball, tip it to yourself and continue to bring that to the ground. That's just an absolutely incredible catch. So that's probably going for catch of the year. But in my opinion, if we're talking about the question, did the Bills win or did the Bills lose or the Jets win? I'm saying the Bills completely lost this.
I agree. 100%.
Josh Allen shot his team in the foot. 4 turnovers, 3 picks.
Bad.
One of the interceptions was over the middle, and it was basically like he was the punter. It wasn't even near one of the Bills receivers. I got to give it to Jordan Whitehead, former Buccaneer. He was all over the place. He had, I think, a $250,000 incentive to get 3 interceptions this season. He got it in one game.
Got it in one game.
One game, you make $250,000.
Maybe he should get $250,000 every game. He gets 3 interceptions.
Hey, if you're playing, the next game with the Bills, maybe. No, I don't know, but I gotta say, Josh Allen, I put him as the number 4 quarterback. He's dropping a few places in my top 10 list. He was pretty bad. And this is something that I think we have to acknowledge now. We're seeing it with Daniel Jones. The effect that Brian Daboll has on refining quarterbacks cannot be overshadowed whatsoever. We saw what Daniel Jones was with horrible offensive coordinators and horrible coaching. He was a bottom 5 quarterback in the league and had turnover issues.
Yeah.
Now you get Brian Daboll in the league. People are throwing him in the top 10 for being as efficient as he was last season.
They may reconsider that after his game on Sunday.
And we'll talk about that. He
didn't play very well either.
I think you got to give that to the Cowboys defense. However, I will say this, Josh Allen, we heard it last year after the Rams Bills game. He was the best player in the NFL right now. And that turned out not to be the case as the year progressed. Mahomes and Burrow and actually Jalen Hurts as well were just better quarterbacks throughout the season. But I think if we look at Josh Allen, I mean, he's always sort of been turnover prone. We saw him in crucial spots in playoff games. He comes up small. I mean, in the reality, Josh Allen this season, with the same exact weapons, with the same exact offensive line, basically, with the same coaching, nothing has drastically moved besides one major piece, and that's Brian Dable. You have a new running back, but I think James Cook actually will be better than Devin Singletary. Exactly. And another thing when we talk about the Jets, Breece Hall is back. Breece Hall from the ACL.
He was great.
He's 100% back.
Only had 10 carries.
He had well over 100 yards
127 yards, I think.
It was insane to watch. He had that massive run that...
83 yards.
I think if Garrett Wilson wasn't showboating and dancing, if he actually held the block, Breece Hall probably could have ran that in for a touchdown. But I think Breece Hall is 100% back. And Dalvin Cook, he looked a little bit, Breece Hall was clearly the better running back amongst the two of them. So it makes sense why Dalvin Cook is the running back two at the moment. But
I think with Breece Hall, he got 10 touches and made the most of those 10. I think they were trying to hold him back a little because he's the first game after his ACL and meniscus tear. I mean, that was a pretty bad injury.
His leg got
to have him come out and play like that first game back, it's very impressive.
Absolutely. And compared to Dalvin Cook only had 2.5 yards per carry. I mean, he was basically rendered useless in this game. Breece Hall was really the main guy there.
Yeah.
And I gotta give it to the Jets defense. They pressured Allen. They made him look very, very bad.
They did.
They made him look nervous. I mean, is that the solution to the Bills? Just try to pressure Josh Allen as much as you humanly possibly can, and he'll crack underneath that pressure.
I think someone should have gone over to Josh Allen and said, "Calm down." He seemed way overhyped. He was just really hyped up, and then he started making the mistakes, and he seemed even more hyped up after that, particularly when he fumbled the ball. I mean, he should have just fallen on the ball when he instead of trying to pick it up and run with it.
He tried to make a play
and then he ran into his own player, and then Mark Sanchez came on and tweeted and said, "That's weird, huh?" A reference to the butt fumble.
Yeah,
right.
One of the worst plays in NFL
history. Right.
I'm gonna say this. It's shocking how bad Sauce Gardner looked. He was getting cooked all game. I mean, Stephon Diggs was tearing him a new one. I mean, I saw. I mean, coming from being Defensive Rookie of the Year, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he might have been Defensive Player of the Year as well. I mean, he looked really bad against Stephon Diggs, and we're talking about a guy that was hands down, clear cut cornerback one in the entire league, and he absolutely got shredded in week one. I mean, like. I don't know. This is going to be interesting to see the difference between the pass rush and the secondary, because the pass rush is still there. If we're talking about the number 4 defense in the league last year, that pass rush is still very much alive. I want to see exactly what the secondary does with DJ Reed. Jordan Whitehead was phenomenal with Jordan Whitehead, with obviously Sauce Gardner, and see what exactly they do. Because this pass rush is good enough, regardless of the quarterback. I think this defense will hold teams to a low enough score that as long as you have, competent play, and Zach Wilson, at least, since he came into the league, hasn't been fully competent. If you have somewhat competent play, I think the Jets could actually win more games than what people are thinking. I mean, the Jets had, when Aaron Rodgers was there, had a little bit over 60% chance to make the playoffs. That has decreased all the way down to below 5%. I think that number may increase just based on this defense. Strictly this defense alone. Because what this defense did to Josh Allen, I mean, Josh Allen, some people have put him in the top 3. A lot of people, pretty much everyone has him in the top 5. I mean, they made him look pedestrian, to say the least. So I got to hand to the Jets, but I think the Bills definitely lost this. I mean, if the Bills didn't have a quarterback who basically gave the ball away 4 times, I think the Bills would have taken care of this easily. You had a punt return, interception.
I think the fumble was the thing that cooked them, really, right? That gave the Jets the ball in very good field position. That's when they scored their touchdown, tied the game up. If he hadn't fumbled it, I don't think they would have lost. And because 3 interceptions didn't help either.
Yeah.
But he definitely lost the game for them, and he said it after the game. He said, "I lost the game for us."
And then
that's hard to live with for another week. He's just got to calm down. The guy is a very good athlete. He can be a great quarterback. He makes some bad decisions sometimes out there, and he gets too hyped up. I think they ought to talk to him and say, "Listen, just calm down, play within yourself. You'll be fine."
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's get into the next game that you referenced at the beginning of this topic, and that is the Giants and Cowboys game.
What a horrible game.
Talk about a Sunday night blowout.
Unbelievable.
The Cowboys crushed the Giants 40-0 in the largest shutout in Dallas Cowboys franchise history. And then the Dallas Cowboys defense came up huge, forcing 3 turnovers and scoring 2 defensive touchdowns. And also, one of those touchdowns, I believe, was a blocked field goal as well. This is pretty bad. I mean, it was really embarrassing to start off week 1 with your quarterback making over $40 million a year. So I want to know, did this game show you more about the Dallas Cowboys and what they could do, or the New York Giants' limitations based on, how good the other team is?
I just don't think the Giants are ready to play. I don't know. I don't know where their heads were. They weren't ready to play. They started out okay. They got down there, and then when that field goal got blocked and went for a touchdown, it was all downhill from there. And they couldn't hang on to the ball. They fumbled it right and left. And the interceptions, the throw to Saquon Barkley, the big hit, the ball goes up in the air. The guy intercepts it, goes in for a touchdown. Daniel Jones played poorly, but he was. Again, something that we talked about with Josh Allen. The defense of the Jets had something to do with Allen's play, too. And here I think the same thing with the Cowboys. The Giants' offensive line was a sieve. They were all over Daniel Jones. He got sacked, 7 or 8 times?
7 times, yeah.
7 times. And I'm surprised Dabo left him in there. It was pouring out. They were behind 40-0, and he's still out there. I think they should have pulled him out earlier. He took a beating in the game.
I'll say this. We talked about how the Giants have an improved offensive line. They drafted that center, and he was going to be this massive improvement. We also heard about Daniel Jones's brand new weapons. He has all these weapons: Jalen Hyatt and Darren Waller. They kept Isaiah Hodges. They brought back Darius Slayton. They re-signed Sterling Shepard. They got Paris Campbell. Saquon Barkley's back. And in the first game of the season, that was all rendered useless. And I'll say this, the Cowboys offensively wasn't all that great. I mean, Dak didn't have a good game. 13 of 24, barely over 50% completion percentage, only 143 passing yards, but he didn't need to do anything offensively because that's not what was required to win this game. So in this brand new offense that Mike McCarthy is now calling instead of, O.C. Kellen Moore, this is all Mike McCarthy now. It was interesting to see, how Dak operated with a brand new offense. And hell, it wasn't, tremendous. However, it didn't need to be tremendous. It didn't even need to be all that good. But this defense for the Cowboys, I think this game showed way more about the Cowboys than it did with the Giants, because it's the same thing with the Jets. This defense proved that Dak may make mistakes down the line, and you know what? He probably will make mistakes, a lot of interceptions. But this defense is good enough to win you games alone. Because we talk about, as soon as that blocked field goal happened, the entire momentum of the game changed. I mean, honestly, the beginning of that game, Daniel Jones was, kind of dealing down the field. And then you get that blocked field goal, and the entire power
that changed the whole game.
It completely changed to the Cowboys' favor. And, the offense didn't need to be good, and hell, it wasn't even that good.
The blocked field goal, the guy just walked right through the line. They didn't even block him.
Yeah.
That was a huge mistake. How they couldn't bounce back from that, though, it says something about that. I don't think they would. They just seemed like they weren't ready to play to me. And
I think we got to acknowledge this. The Giants, they have a pretty difficult schedule this year. If any team has a similar defensive front that the Cowboys did, obviously, the Cowboys have a top 3 defense in the league right now. If any of them, resemble it, similarly, like the Jets, for instance, the Jets and Giants play, I think, week 8 or week 9 this year. Daniel Jones is going to have some serious problems. And it doesn't matter if you have D-Hop. It doesn't matter if you have Jerry Rice out there. If you have 1 second before your head's about to get taken off by any defensive lineman, it doesn't matter who's out there. You're going to get smoked. You're not going to be able to throw it to him. And that was shown in this game. I mean, Daniel Jones tried. He tried to make plays. He ran it 13 times. 13 times as a quarterback. He actually was the leading carrier on his team. Saquon didn't even run it that many times. He threw 28 passes, completed 15 of them, only 104 yards. He had no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Here's the kicker, though. We talk about a bad offensive line. He got pressured in 2/3 of his dropbacks. That is the most pressures I'd like the highest percentage of under pressure I probably have ever seen in a very, very long time. And also this PFF grade 0 to 100. If you were to guess what Mike Lewinsky, their offensive guard, got as a PFF grade, what do you think they gave him as a pass blocking grade? 0 to 100 PFF.
Which guy?
Mike Lewinsky. I believe he's the left or right guard for the Giants.
0 to 100?
0 to 100.
12.
1.
1?
A 1.
Oh, come on.
And
can anyone be that bad?
I've never seen that low of a grade.
That would mean everybody just runs right through. Nobody doesn't block them at all.
That's basically what happened. And I'll say this, out of the top 10 lowest offensive lineman grades, the Giants had 2 in the top 10. Evan Neal, their tackle, and Mike Lewinsky was obviously the leader in the game. But this is bad for the Giants. I think that, maybe they put their money in the wrong place instead of paying Daniel Jones $40 million a year. Saquon on a franchise tag they had to deal with. However, he did cave day one, so I got to give him there. They held out. They called his bluff. Yeah. Your offensive line was
they got a deal. They have a deal on Saquon Barkley, I think.
Yeah, no.
As long as he stays healthy.
Saquon folding was a massive power shift into the Giants' favor because, the Giants just realized he'll cave. He'll cave. The running back market is really nothing to speak about. However, to pay Daniel Jones $40 million, to bring in a couple weapons, to draft a couple weapons as well, to get Darren Waller, although you got Darren Waller for a steal, but he has an injury history, and actually going to this game, he was questionable with a hamstring, so it could have, history could have repeated itself. The offensive line is a massive, massive exclamation point when it comes to ways to beat up on this team. The defense also, surprisingly, was terrible. I mean, the Giants' defense didn't really stop nobody, but you know what? They didn't need to, come up with these big defensive plays, but they weren't all that good. Of course, I mean, my guess is the Giants are going to be middle of the pack in defense, but I think really this offensive line is a huge, huge question mark. And I don't know. Daniel Jones right now, regardless of the circumstances, Cowboys defense, bad, no momentum. Daniel Jones is not great at the moment, but you can't put this game fully on him. So I don't know. It's going to be difficult. The Giants play a couple of very, very hard teams, so we'll have to wait and see if the Giants' offensive line could hold up against some other teams. Let's get into our next topic here. So this is the only Harvey hot hand game that I got wrong, and that was the Buccaneers and the Vikings. Baker Mayfield, in his first game with the Tampa Bay Bucs, able to upset Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. The Bucs defense forced 3 turnovers from Kirk Cousins alone as Baker led the comeback victory over the Vikings. So I want to know, what is your reaction to Baker Mayfield's first game in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey?
Surprising. I didn't pick them to win this game. I thought the Bucs would lose and the Vikings would cover. So I was surprised. I didn't watch the whole game. I watched a lot of the highlights of it. It looked to me like Kirk Cousins had some good moments, particularly to Jefferson. Jefferson had a really good game. He was catching the ball all over the place there. He had some big runs. But those 3 turnovers, and you can't do that. I mean, this weekend, it wasn't a really good weekend for the quarterbacks, right? Look at 4 turnovers from Josh Allen. How many turnovers did Daniel Jones have? He had 2 interceptions.
He had 2.
He didn't have a fumble, too?
He had a fumble, but recovered
it. And then Kirk Cousins, 3 turnovers, too. So, I don't know. Maybe this is a defensive league, Nate. We kept talking about the coaches all being offensive-minded now, and the head coach that's a defensive-minded guy is kind of the thing of the past. These games, there's a lot of defense played in these games. They were low scoring. Most of the games were quite low scoring too.
I agree with you there.
Yeah. So I was surprised by the Bucs beating the Vikings. I had the Bucs being in last place in their division. They may still wind up there, but they looked a lot better than I thought they would be.
No, I mean, you could definitely say they look much better. And Baker Mayfield, it started off not great. I believe his first pass was a batted ball, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Old Baker is back. And then, you know what? He settled in. You're speaking about Josh Allen needing to calm down. Baker calmed down, surveyed the field, made the throws. I mean, I think one of the last catches was a Chris Godwin first down, and that was a beautiful catch. But also
wasn't a very good throw, actually.
Baker Mayfield,
he's lucky Godwin was the guy on the other end of it, because most people wouldn't have made that catch, I don't think.
No, absolutely. So, I mean, you were talking about quarterbacks shooting themselves in the foot or shooting their teams in the foot. Kirk Cousins definitely did that on Sunday. 33 of 44 completions and attempts, 344 yards, which is always a good number. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. He also, I believe, had, 2 fumbles as well that he lost. I mean, the offensive line of the Vikings and the defense, I would say more, this ain't about, the Vikings defense all of a sudden going from 31st to being good. I just think it's Baker Mayfield. The Bucks still don't have a running game, 2.2 yards a carry. That's probably going to be a consistent thing. But that's what was very surprising, at least in my mind, was Baker Mayfield with the Browns always had a consistent run game with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, the thunder and lightning combo, so he could always rely on that. The Bucks had no run game, as they haven't for the past couple of years, and Baker Mayfield, it was really up to him and his arm, and he delivered. Now I'll also give it to the Bucks defense coming up big, and that was a huge thing. Devin White having 12 tackles and 1 tackle for loss as well. So I was very, very impressed with Baker Mayfield. He showed up when he needed to. However, once again, I'll submit to the fact that he looked really good. He looked like a starting quarterback in the league. But my big, asterisk always with my Baker Mayfield takes is we have to wait and see. Consistency is a problem with Baker Mayfield. He'll have moments. He'll have, spark moments. He had a couple good games with the Rams last year, but overall wasn't all that great. He started off really good with the Panthers. Should have won week 1 against the Browns, but the rest of that season, I think he got benched in week 6. It's all about consistency when it comes to Baker Mayfield. So we'll have to wait and see. But Justin Jefferson looked very upset. His head was down. He had sort of like that, psycho Tom Brady look when he's down, he needs to come back, except this was the end of the game, and Justin Jefferson literally was powerless because it's Kirk Cousins throwing in the ball, and that's the big thing. We're going to talk about it, our last topic here when we make our Thursday night picks. Now this Vikings team is going into a primetime game, which Kirk Cousins historically has been pretty bad, and I believe he has a 12-20 record in primetime games. So that does not bode well for this Vikings team. And also, you're going up against Baker Mayfield, and then following it, you're going up against Jalen Hurts, who just made the Super Bowl last year. So I think it's an interesting situation. The fact that the Vikings, they were 11-0 one-score games last season, already starting off 0-1 in one-score games. I think that's that's a sign of things to come. And I feel better day in and day out about the Lions winning that division. A lot of teams came up small, a lot of low-scoring games, but I think that's kind of how the NFL is early on. The defenses, I feel like defenses early on, it's very simplistic, simple pass rushes, and the offenses don't want to do anything too complex because it's the beginning of the year. So I think give it till week 4 or 5 for offenses to really pick up the pace here, and then we'll see more complex offenses, higher scoring, more defensive breakdowns. But I was very, very surprised that only a couple teams scored a lot of points. This is a very heavily defensive week 1. But you know what? Mike Evans, 66 yards and a touchdown. He looked pretty good. Chris Godwin had 51 yards on 5 catches. So Baker Mayfield, no turnovers. That was the big thing. No turnovers. He played pretty well. He had 2 touchdowns. He had a passer rating of 94. I got to give it to Baker. He played well, outplayed Kirk Cousins in week 1. All right, coming up. Have we bet the Patriots too low after they nearly beat the Eagles in week 1? Also, Joe Burrow and the Bengals came up very, very small against Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. Is this a sign of things to come for the Bengals? We'll have to wait and see. And finally, we make our predictions for Thursday's game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles right after this.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. And why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion. with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show. So the New England Patriots were this close to making a crazy comeback against the Philadelphia Eagles. The defense showed up and showed out, but late in that game, there were a couple questionable fourth down calls by Bill Belichick and Bill O'Brien, and Belichick actually defended his fourth down calls by saying this in the postgame.
It was the best decision for the team. Made the best decision we could at the time. Didn't know we'd be down there, multiple times. 6 minutes to go in the game. I don't know. If we kicked it, I'm sure you'd be asking over and go for it.
Classic Bill Belichick answer. But I want to know, overall though, yes, a couple bad plays, a couple mistakes here and there. I want to know, what were your overall takeaways from Sunday's game?
I was, my heart was pounding there at the end of the game when the Patriots had the chance to win it. They moved the ball down the field. They had the defense came up big and got the ball back for them. I think that if they had a couple more games under their belt, and they played kind of like they did after they got started. They played terrible at the beginning, but after they got going, they showed what they could do on offense. They showed that defense could really stop a Super Bowl team in their tracks for multiple possessions. I think that Belichick would have probably kicked the field goal there. I just don't think he had enough. He's seen enough of that offense to say, yeah, you know what, we could probably stop him. The offense can come back down the field and get another field goal. That 6 points would have won the game by 1 point. But you don't know what would have happened, whether Hurts would have fumbled the ball again or whether that would happen. It's hard to say, but I think. But in retrospect, they probably wish they kicked the field goal, And
that's what's crazy about it. At the time you were down by 5 points? You kick a field, or however long you were down by. Oh no, you were down by I think 11 at that point or something like that. You were gonna need to kick a field goal.
No, I think they were down by 5, right?
The
second time down they were, but the second time down they had to go for it, right? It was only less than 30 seconds left.
Right.
So the first time down. I think they were down by 11, right? That would have got them down by 8. No, I don't think so.
No. I
think it was still 25-20 because if they kicked the field goal and been down by 8, then when they went down and got the score, they would have gone for 2. They would have gone for 2, and that would have made it a tie game.
You wouldn't need to go on for 2 anyway, and that was the big point there, was the fact that you were taking a risk when you didn't need to. Kick a field goal because your defense was stopping Hurts. That was the shocking thing, just how great the Patriots defense was
really
especially
good
in that front 7.
Yeah.
Now, Christian Gonzalez, first NFL game as a rookie, he did not have a great game. He was actually the third lowest graded player on that Patriots defense, but he was guarding, Devontae Smith at times and A.J. Brown at times. They
put him on the best receiver in the situations. I mean, they really they put a lot of confidence in him for a guy who's playing his first NFL game.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing, yes, Mac Jones and Ezekiel Elliott had a fumble. Mac Jones had an interception that hit I think it was Kendrick Bourne he intended to hit.
It was a poor throw.
Hit him in both his hands though.
But it was a rocket pass and it was on the rise.
Yeah,
and that's something Mac Jones had trouble with last year. But after that, he calmed right down. He completed like 10 or 11 in a row.
Yeah, no.
With 2 TDs.
And that was very impressive. Mac Jones, I mean, I think it was the most attempts of his entire career. He actually led the entirety of Week 1 in pass attempts with 54. Because the running game wasn't all that great.
It was terrible.
They had, and this is a big thing. The offensive line was dealing with several injuries.
Yeah.
I think they had 3 new offensive linemen in there. Riley Reif is on the IR. They brought up Calvin Anderson. Cole Strange was out, and Michael Owenu was out. So you had 2 brand new guards, and the running game could just not establish itself. And Mac Jones, I got to give it to him. Yes, he took 2 sacks, but he was getting pressured on basically a third of his dropbacks, and he only had 2 sacks on that, which is incredible. I have the number here. When you drop back, let's see if I can get it up quickly. So based on that game, right? Mac Jones was pressured on. It was about 31 to 33%. 33%. He had 58 dropbacks. So the fact that you only get 2 sacks on 58 dropbacks while being pressured, a third of the time is impressive. And another thing, people say he doesn't have good pocket awareness. He was doing some Tom Brady electric slides in the pocket there, sliding left, making a throw, sliding right, stepping up. I mean, for a guy who a lot of people don't think he has good pocket presence, he was moving around in the pocket. He was doing like Dance Revolution in the pocket.
Yeah,
he was
one
very,
of the
very
best.
impressive.
I'd say, given all the quarterback performances of a Sunday, he had one of the best ones.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I actually
he
think
was
he
third
played
in big time throws as well,
Yeah,
which is incredible.
I think he played better than Jalen Hurts. Actually,
absolutely, 1,000%.
Even though Jalen Hurts won they won the game. He missed some receivers. There were receivers wide open that he missed.
Right.
I mean, he didn't even throw it to them. He threw to the other guy who was covered more. So I think that Mac Jones outplayed Hurts. I think Hurts was upset by the defensive scheme, right? The Belichick. I think they had a good scheme. They suffered from the turnovers early. That the Eagles got points off both of them, and if that hadn't happened, I think the Patriots would have won the game. I was disappointed the Patriots lost, but I feel some confidence that the Patriots are a much better team than they were last year. I think Bill O'Brien did a pretty good job, right?
I do as well.
He saw the running game wasn't there. He didn't try to keep going to it. He went with the passing game, and it was an exciting game to watch. I enjoyed the game.
And that's the big thing. Something that, maybe Joe Judge and Matt Patricia didn't do last season, but what Josh McDaniels did in Mac Jones' rookie year and what Bill O'Brien seemed to do in this game was he actually put trust in Mac Jones. He said, we can't run the ball. We're not going to try to keep running it and hoping, Stevenson finds a couple holes and Zeke actually finds a couple holes. No, we're going to let Mac Jones throw the ball basically the entire game. And that's exactly what they did. He had over 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, which is absolutely insane, especially for a guy that, what's crazy is that obviously social media, as soon as that interception happened, people were screaming for Zappy to come into the game and Mac Jones sucks. However, I'll say this. It's unfortunate that, this loss kind of came at the hands of a rookie wide receiver in Kayshon Boutte, who you had actually going in the first round for your draft. So this is what happened. This was an earlier, it was at the third quarter, a beautiful throw by Mac Jones on a comeback route. You got to get the feet down. You got to have awareness. I mean, this one, he didn't even try to get his feet down. It's kind of just like he was nonchalantly catching the ball and figuring he was in bounds. And then it was the big one on the 4th and 11, which is coming up right now. This one was just unfortunate. I mean, you kind of that was a pause screen. So I mean, the 4th and 11. This is the big one. This is ended the game essentially. It was a little bit better, but you got to get your sideline feet better. You got to have a better toe touch. And unfortunately, Kayshon Boutte did not get it done. It was unfortunate because this is actually a beautiful throw, and it was unfortunate that Kayshon Boutte could not get his feet in. So that was basically the game there.
I think that's a coaching issue there because he's playing like he's still in college. You only get 1 foot down when you're in college, right? And it's called a catch. They got to teach him, when you're near the sideline, you got to have that awareness and drag the foot. Right. Even if you fall down, so what? You make the catch, you drag your foot. He could have done that on that last catch. It's just a rookie mistake.
It is.
I think that those rookies played well. I think Douglas, Demario Douglas, he played well, and so did Boutte. Played okay. I think they just need a little more experience. Being in the NFL game is a lot different than college. And you just got to know, you got to have better presence on the field. Know if you're near the sideline, you got to drag that foot.
Yeah.
Right.
What's unfortunate is that, Kayshon Boutte looked good running his routes, but it's unfortunate. 4 targets, no catches, no yards. And then that's what's shocking because he was supposed to be, this monster dude, this diamond in the rough kind of a thing. But I got to give it, here's the thing that I didn't understand last season. Where was Kendrick Bourne? Where was he last year? Yeah, apparently he was in Matt Patricia's doghouse.
Yeah.
He comes into this game, 6 catches, 64 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's exactly what we saw Mac Jones' rookie year. Mac Jones was slinging it to Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne actually had some of the best touchdowns in Mac Jones' rookie year. And you know what? It looks like the Mac Jones-Bourne connection is once again back, and that's huge. Hunter Henry had a great 4th down catch on one of those questionable 4th down calls. It was like a 4th and 8 or something like that. It was actually a bad throw by Mac Jones, and Hunter Henry made a spectacular play.
Tapped it up in the air so he could get under it. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I got the Patriots look good. I mean,
Gesicki got a catch there too.
yeah, the I believe it was the one right before. It might have been the one before this 4th down one. He was alone and he ran up the right sideline to set up what was unfortunately the final set of the game. But you know what? I came into the season saying I can't see a way the Patriots win more than 7 games. I'm starting to to see some light.
Yeah.
But could this just be Super Bowl hangover for the Eagles? That's going to be the big question mark here. They lost Shane Steichen, and you know what? Once again, the Brian Daboll effect here. You come in and you grow with an offensive coordinator or a head coach, whatever the case may be, or a quarterback coach, like I said, whatever the case may be. You lose them, and now you're with a new guy that you have to form a relationship with, that you have to grind with, that you have to, understand one another, find what's comfortable, find what you like running. And you know what? Shane Steichen right now, head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, Jalen Hurts no longer has him as his OC. So it's going to be interesting how Jalen Hurts actually plays this season. Brand new offensive coordinator. The Eagles defense needs to play under a brand new DC. I don't know. The offensive line was bad. For the Patriots, the offensive line was pretty bad.
It was better than I thought it was going to be.
It was better
in terms of the pass defense.
Yeah.
I think maybe they went into the game thinking they were going to throw the ball a lot, right? But they focused more on the pass defense because it was okay. It wasn't. I mean, 58 dropbacks, 2 sacks.
Yeah,
that's not too bad.
And
right?
and being pressured on a third and only taking 2 sacks.
Yeah,
that's the big thing right there.
Yeah, that's a big stat too.
So I mean, I'm still nervous because you're going up against teams like you're playing the Jets still. You have to play Kansas City eventually.
How about Miami?
You also got to play
Their offense.
Miami
like
this week, Sunday Night Football. It's going to be big, and then they just came from a game against the Church. By the way, Brandon Staley's done after this year. He's completely done. I'm sure we'll talk about it later on throughout the season, but Brandon Staley's focus is defense, and you can't even get your own side of the ball correct. And that's something, that's why I think Robert Saleh has an upper hand there. Robert Saleh got his defense corrected, got the Jets' defense corrected. So I think, at least in that part, Brandon Staley can't get his own defense right. You have all these pieces, and you can't even get it right. He's gone by the end of the year, regardless of what happens. I guarantee you, Brandon Staley will be fired. But you know what? The light just got turned up a little bit for the Patriots this season. But still, the AFC is hard. Their own division is going to be very, very difficult.
I thought the Chargers had a really good defense.
On paper, we talked about this.
Paper,
we talked about this on Friday.
They got smoked. They got smoked.
I mean, Tua threw over 466 yards. They gave up 500 total yards. Tyreek Hill, he's going for that 2,000-yard record. He had over 200 yards receiving.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, Chargers defense got cooked.
We'll see what the Patriots can do against them. It's going to be very hard, I think.
And what's crazy is that Christian Gonzalez may go up against Tyreek Hill or go up against Jalen Waddle, both 2 near impossible tasks for a rookie cornerback. So what you got to do is you got to play zone. Screw the man, and that's what the Chargers played a lot of man against the fastest guy in pads in the NFL.
Yeah.
So the Patriots got to play some zone. I'd say you can let the Dolphins run. Let them run if they want to. Don't let Tyreek Hill go 200 yards on you. That's going to be the big thing. Don't let Tua get over the top and throw the ball deep.
I think you have to blitz Tua. Yeah, you got to put pressure on him, try to get him to make some bad passes.
And I got to say this. Patriots' red zone defense was very, very good in this game.
Yeah.
Forced a
Let me
lot
ask
of
you
field
this.
goals. Yeah.
What happened to Josh Uche?
Yeah, I think
he
had
was
a sack.
missing in
I think he had a
action.
sack this game. I
Did he really?
believe
I
he had one
didn't hear
sack.
his name called hardly at all in that game. I didn't even see him out there most of the time. I didn't think he was out there very much.
He had one QB hit, or that's the QB sack. Yeah, no, he had one tackle this entire game, and that was the sack. He didn't do much, but he did have one of their 3 sacks.
They play a lot of players on defense. There were a lot of big rotation, a lot of people in and out of there.
Yeah. No, Keon White had a pass deflected, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, he played well.
Juwan Bentley had a great game, 9 tackles, 3 solos, 1 tackle for a loss. Christian Gonzalez even had a sack in this game, which is impressive.
Safety sack.
I don't know. The Eagles, they're going to be interesting to watch because if the Cowboys are this dominant, I don't know. My Week 8 standings change may have the Cowboys, maybe winning out the entire NFC.
The Cowboys have a swagger, that's for sure, and their defense is unbelievable.
Micah
Parsons, a really good
Defensive
game.
Player of the Year. That was my pick this season. Defensive Player of the Year. It's going to be interesting, but it was unfortunate the Patriots lost Week 1. However, it's not all bad right now in Foxborough. Let's get into our next topic here. So, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals looked terrible against the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson, only putting up 3 points. And Joe Burrow, after signing that over $250 million contract,
$55 million a year.
It's insane. He put up his career low 82 passing yards in the loss to the Cleveland Browns. So I want to know, are you more surprised about the Browns' dominance or more about the Bengals' struggles?
Again, the Bengals to me looked like they weren't ready to play. I don't know what it was. The Browns were fired up. I guess they were playing at home. They've got their new logo, the dog, and the fans were fired up. They're making a lot of noise. And the weather was lousy, right? The weather was lousy. But Burrow, he did nothing in the preseason, right? He was hurt for most of it. So he just didn't look like he was ready to play or knew where he was going with the ball. And they had a lot of pressure on him. He looked very frustrated and disappointed over there on the sideline. I couldn't believe how poorly he played. I picked them to win. I thought they would win. They got smoked. Right? They did. What was the final score?
24-3.
24-3. They didn't even score a touchdown.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, on the other hand, had a pretty good game, right?
He did have a pretty good game.
He was down there. He did that running touchdown. He was playing the guitar there. He was, dancing on the sideline there when he scored. He was having a good time. I was surprised he played that well against the Bengals defense, which is supposedly very good.
They have a few dogs on defense, the Bengals do. I think this is a lot about, what we saw in the preseason. We saw in the Hall of Fame game, Browns Jets. Now understand,
was a nothing game.
But I said, is this a sign to come if the Browns could run the hell out of the ball? Well, they rushed for 206 yards, 5.2 yards a carry, and a touchdown. Yeah. I think, it was kind of a sign of things to come. Deshaun Watson didn't need to do all that much. He did have an interception. However, he had 150 yards and a touchdown. He actually didn't have that good of a pass rating, 67.3. But he actually had a pretty good QBR skill, 0
that running touchdown was pretty good.
Yeah, no, he four carries for 45 yards, 9 yards a carry and also a touchdown, like you just said. Nick Chubb had a great game, over 100 yards rushing. Elijah Moore, former Jet, had an okay game, 43 yards on 3 catches. However, This I think this says more about the Browns, actually. I don't think this says much about the Bengals because last season the Bengals went 0-2, and statistically, analytically, you had basically an 11% chance to make the playoffs after starting 0-2, and I said the Bengals going to miss the playoffs. I was very wrong. The Bengals were part of that 11% that go 0-2 and make the playoffs. So, I don't think this says much. I picked the Browns to win just based on Joe Burrow's record in Week 1 and also his record against the Browns. He's 1-4, I believe, against I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I think he's 1-4 against the Browns, and he's 1-2 and now 1-3 in Week 1 games. And he also doesn't look that great in Week 1 games, as shown in this game against the Browns. The same problems still arise for the Bengals. Their offensive line is not that good. They just released one of their offensive linemen they signed, I think, a year or two ago, Lyle Collins. He was on the PUP list. He got released today. However, Orlando Brown didn't have a great game blocking. The Browns, on the other hand, they did lose one of their offensive linemen, a pretty good offensive lineman. He'll be out for an extensive amount of time. But, the Browns defense, this shows a lot about just, I think Zadarius Smith is on the Browns defense. You still got Myles Garrett. Your secondary looks great, shutting down Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. So, I got to give it to the Browns defense. This says a lot, and I can now understand why maybe the Browns, they were 9.5 win-loss, over under, the 9.5 win-loss. This could be why. They looked really good, and Deshaun Watson, I think he's building up to what he used to be on the Texans, that 4,800 yards the last time we see him. Yes, he did go 4-12 in that season, but he had 4,800 yards. So if we have that Deshaun Watson back, I guarantee you we're going to be seeing a pretty good Browns team that I'm not saying fights for, that top spot in the AFC North. But with the Ravens losing their top running back and losing an important offensive lineman, there's a potential chance the Browns take that second spot over the Ravens. Or, let's say the Ravens get the first spot, having a spot over the Bengals.
How about the Bengals?
Yeah, no, either one of those.
I think they'll bounce back. Last year they started slow too.
0-2,
right?
yeah.
They had a problem last year when the first couple of games. I probably should have remembered that and maybe picked the Browns. I just don't see how I can pick the Browns. They've been so bad for so long. Maybe they've changed. I don't know. Maybe the new logo will do it for them.
Well, they have like is that an elf in the middle of the field? I'm not sure. Is that an elf? Because I know I think it was Jamar Chase. They called him. He called the Browns elves. But they have this brand new logo in the middle of the field.
I didn't see it.
I think it's an elf. I'm not entirely sure though. So I mean, for me, the Bengals are going to bounce back just like they did last year, at least in my eyes. Like I said, they started 0-2 last season. They bounced back and had an opportunity to go to another Super Bowl, but fell short. The Browns, on the other hand, what happened the past couple seasons? Baker Mayfield, now you signed Deshaun Watson, but you had to deal with Jacoby Brissett most of the year. Deshaun Watson comes back, still looks rusty. Major questions going into this season. Deshaun Watson looks okay, but rushing for 200 yards definitely helps the fact that, we right now Deshaun Watson's still a smokescreen because it doesn't have to be. He's not the one making these big-time plays. The running game helped you out massively, and also your defense definitely stopping the dynamic and dominant Bengals offense. So I'm going to give this one to the Browns. That this is more of a Browns win than a Bengal loss, at least in my eyes. All right, it's time for Thursday night picks, week 2. So we each, or actually, you picked the Chiefs. I'm 1-0 in Thursday picks. You're 0-1 after the Lions had that crazy late game win last Thursday. So we're doing it week 2 now. So Kirk Cousins looks to bounce back against the Eagles on Thursday Night Football, the first Prime Video game of the season. Like I said, last week was on NBC. So I want to know. I guess I'll start for this. So who wins, Vikings or Eagles? I'm taking the Eagles to win 30-20. I mean, in the past 19 games, Jalen Hurts is 18-1. Thursday night, I mean, the last time these teams, Jalen Hurts and Kirk Cousins played, Kirk Cousins was absolutely abysmal. And also this is a primetime game. Kirk Cousins in primetime is a very, very bad quarterback. I would say 9 times out of 10, he's very, very bad. Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, I think there's going to be definitely a comeback game after, being very, very slow against the Patriots offense and defense. Couldn't stop either of them, at least late in that game. I'm going to say the Eagles bounce back and win 30-20. How about your pick?
I agree with you that the Eagles will win the game. I think it will be not that close, actually. I had 30-17 as my score, although one thing that could be a problem for the Eagles against the Vikings is the passing game. Justin Jefferson is an elite receiver, and the Patriots didn't have anything in that neighborhood, right? And he had a good game on Sunday. If they can get Cousins some protection, which maybe they can't because the Eagles have a very good front four, I think that could give the Eagles a problem. I do think Jalen Hurts will play better against the Vikings defense than against the Patriots because I think the Patriots have a much better defense than the Vikings and a much better scheme. So I do look for the Eagles to win that game.
I think something else that sort of has to be spoken about is the fact that the Vikings had the 31st defense last season, and they just lost to Baker Mayfield. So, and honestly, it wasn't a pretty game. I mean, the Bucs defense that was not all that great last season. They forced 3 turnovers on Kirk Cousins. They made Kirk Cousins look terrible, and that wasn't even in a primetime game. That was a 1 p.m. game. And that's from the same team that just went 11-0 one-score games last season. And they stopped Kirk Cousins from doing anything late in that game. And Baker Mayfield played pretty well in that game as well. So I think with, the fact that they were the 31st ranked defense last season, Jalen Hurts just came back from a Super Bowl. I think the Eagles are going to be hungry this season. They're not going to go on that crazy, they went 11-0 to start the season last year, or whatever the case may be. I obviously they can't start. They're 0-1 right now. I don't know. I feel like Jalen Hurts, this game, it may even be bigger than 30-20, but I do think the Eagles will get the win and get it pretty easily. All right, so I think that does wrap up the show for today. I know you usually talk about Red Sox. We don't hit the 7:30 mark. They had a doubleheader today. They lost the first. They actually choked the first one today. I think they play. Actually, they may be on right now. I mean, I'll check for you right now. But they're playing the Yankees. That's always exciting to play the Yankees. So are you still holding out hope that they can make the playoffs?
I don't know. How many games are they back in the wild card right now? I've been so focused on football, I haven't been following them that closely.
So right now, if we're looking at the AL standings, currently the Red Sox in the wild card race are 6.5 games back.
They're done. They're not. They're not going to catch them. I mean, they now it's a fight to stay out of last place, right? With the Yankees. The Yankees aren't that far. What, they 2 games back of the Red Sox?
Because of the win today, they're only a game in front.
A game. That's ridiculous. Yeah. Those two teams.
And right now, they could jump the Red Sox because they're playing right now. It's nothing at the bottom of the first.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's a disappointing season now. I thought the Red Sox. I was excited about them a couple of weeks ago, and they really started playing some tougher competition, and they fell apart. Yeah. You got to have pitching. It's
unfortunate. Yeah.
Note to Shane Bloom. Go get some pitching.
Well, he's going to be gone by then. I guarantee you. He's going to be gone.
Alex Cora probably too. I think so too.
I think like the past 3 Red Sox GMs have had 4-year tenures each time. This is Bloom's 4th year. He's going to be gone.
Yeah.
Guarantee he's going to be gone. So we got big things in store for the Friday. Obviously, we make our week 2 picks. The Harvey Hot Hand week 2 comes out. I went 4-1 this week. 4-1.
Very good. Congratulations.
If you bet $20 on Fox Bet Sportsbook, you would have made $70 for a total of $170 in your wallet. Let's keep that streak going. Starting off hot. Last season I had a 54.5% win percentage. So I made you some money last season.
You can stay at 75% where you are right now.
Hey, if I make 75%, I'll be making a lot of money. A lot of money. But we're starting off hot. Well, that's 80% we're starting off for this season.
You won.
4 out of 5. That's 80%.
4 out of 5.
Yeah. So I mean, things are starting off great. Our picks weren't great. You went 500 overall for the week. I went, I think, 10-6 for the win loss, and I think 8-8 for the spread. It was pretty rough. So, however, I feel like every team that we picked, and we had a couple of weird ones, but at least the win loss ones, they were just a better team and should have won. I think, honestly, the most shocking game last week was the Rams-Seahawks.
Yeah.
The Rams with no offensive line, no great run game, no real receiver one. The defense was abysmal. Held the Seahawks and Geno Smith to 13 points and themselves put up 30.
Oh.
I mean, that was insane to see.
Matthew Stafford had a good game.
He was the second highest graded quarterback, and right now is the second highest graded quarterback in the league. So I got to give it to him. Matthew Stafford looked pretty good. So and maybe his motivation out of the rumors that the Rams are looking to get off him this offseason. So who knows? But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, this will be it. My name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We are the co-hosts of the Harvey Hour. Catch us Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern for a brand new Week 2 pick, Week 2 Harvey Hot Hand, and everything football. And you know what? A hint of basketball that I want to get to on Friday that we'll talk about. Stay tuned for that Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Night, Grandpa.
Using